Week 33. Day 225. On following someone else's plan, Esther asked why people are sad. "That's simple," says the old man. "They are the prisoners of their personal history. Everyone believes that the main aim in life is to follow a plan. They never ask if that plan is theirs or if it was created by another person. They accumulate experiences, memories, things, other people's ideas, and it is more than they can possibly cope with. And that is why they forget their dreams." Paulo Coelho. I like to say that self-discipline can change a lot in your life, but it won't change much if you're following someone else's dreams. For example, I went to college because my parents wanted me to do it. Graduating from college was, according to them, a necessity to succeed in life. I couldn't care less about formal education, but they did, and since I was young and inexperienced, I obeyed. Despite being a self-disciplined and persistent person, I didn't last even 2 years. I dropped out, tired of constantly forcing myself to follow a plan that was not created by me. The day I decided to drop out was one of the happiest days of my life. It was also the moment when I finally embarked on my own journey, focused on my own goals. If no matter what you're doing, you're finding it immensely difficult to pursue your goals, ask yourself if they're really your own goals. Are you studying because you want to study? Are you a lawyer because it was your own choice? Do you want to make money to buy a house in the suburbs because it's your idea of a perfect life, or is it what society expects you to desire? Don't forget your dreams. Discard any goal or idea that was forced upon you by somebody else that isn't aligned with your values and personality. Get to work on your own plans and then follow them instead. Day 226, on waiting to be saved. No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. Gautama Buddha. It's easy to fall victim to the belief that you need to wait for someone or something to save you. You won't start a business unless you find an investor or a mentor. How about starting your business on a shoestring and learning along the way? You won't change your eating habits unless you find the right diet that was designed by a world-famous dietitian. How about eating more vegetables and fruits and eliminating unhealthy foods from your diet, one by one? You won't start exercising unless you find the right coach. How about putting on your sneakers and going for a walk, or dropping to the ground and doing a few push-ups? You won't start a long-term relationship unless the perfect, flawless person appears in your life. How about looking for a potential partner yourself, accepting that nobody is perfect, and committing to the other person as they are, with all of their positive traits and also their flaws? Don't wait to be saved. You yourself must walk your own path. Use the resources offered by other people when you have access to them, but don't use them as crutches. Day 227, on being stuck in the past. People are all over the world telling their one dramatic story and how their life has turned into getting over this one event. Now their lives are more about the past than their future. Chuck Palahniuk. As a teenager, I was so insecure that I couldn't talk with women. I was bullied. Fortunately, a stronger classmate stood up for me and the bullying quickly ceased, had terrible acne, and needed to take expensive medication to get rid of it, and exuded awkwardness that could earn me the starring role in The Revenge of the Nerds. Yet, I somehow managed to overcome all those debilitations and I turned out okay. One of the keys was not letting my dramatic story define me. Yes, I struggled with all those things and plenty more, but so did many other people, and many of them struggled with issues that make my problems look like a joke. If you're using a past story as an excuse for what your life is like today, ask yourself how this strategy has been serving you. Isn't constantly looking into the past reinforcing the belief that you're a victim? And if so, how does it affect your chances of succeeding in life? Unless you turn the page and look to the future, you'll be forever stuck living in the past, reliving your dramatic story and never changing your identity to create the future you desire. Day 228, on going where your eyes go. In racing, they say that your car goes where your eyes go. The driver who cannot tear his eyes away from the wall as he spins out of control will meet that wall. The driver who looks down the track as he feels his tires break free will regain control of his vehicle. Garth Stein. When you face hardships and feel like you're about to crash, heed the advice of racing drivers: look at where you want your car to go, not at the wall you want to avoid hitting. In practical terms, this means focusing on taking the next step to solve the difficult situation instead of busying your mind with worrying about what will happen if you don't manage to succeed. Doing the latter is not only a waste of energy, it also actively works against you by convincing your brain that the failure is inevitable, thereby making it less likely that you'll avoid it. For example, I was once close to being forced to close my business because I didn't have sufficient money to keep it running. Instead of thinking about closing up shop and worrying about how it would affect my long-term goals, I focused on the next step I could take, doing whatever I could to secure some money to keep the business afloat. Instead of staring at the wall, I looked down the track and managed to avoid hitting the wall. Adopt the same attitude when dealing with problems and setbacks. Obsessing about the imminent failure guarantees it, while holding the steering wheel tightly and looking down the track increases your chances of escaping such a fate. Day 229, on the opportunity in chaos. In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. Sun Tzu. When everything goes wrong, you might be tempted to think that everything is already lost. You've already made a mistake, you can't go past the obstacles. The negative circumstances got the best of you. There's no denying the fact that chaos doesn't make it easy to think logically. However, if you exert some willpower and force yourself to examine the situation without emotions clouding your judgment, you might discover new opportunities in the middle of chaos. For example, if you're on a diet and somehow one cheat meal turned into a week-long binge, you can conclude that everything is lost and give up. It's the easy choice. But as we've already discussed on many occasions, easy choices are rarely the right ones. The chaos that has ensued in your diet offers opportunities. For example, you can now jot down the thoughts you have when you gorge on unhealthy food after a long period of going without it. What makes you eat it? What's the underlying motive? How can you satisfy your need for junk food without actually eating it? If you've been following a healthy diet for several weeks, you can probably also notice the difference in how you feel after eating crap. Whenever I spend a few days eating less healthily, I have a craving to return to my usual diet. Your mistake can then reinforce your will to part ways with junk food forever. Treat chaos as an opportunity to learn, and you might benefit from it even more than if you had never found yourself in the middle of it. Day 230, on laser focusing on specific aspects. Franklin identified the aspects of his performance that needed to be improved and found a way to stretch himself, the essential core of deliberate practice. Significantly, he did not try to become a better essay writer by sitting down and writing essays. Instead, like a top-ranked athlete or musician, he worked over and over on those specific aspects that needed improvement. Jeff Colvin. Saying that you want to become more self-disciplined is too vague of a resolution. You need to be more specific about what areas of your life you want to improve and specifically how you're going to do it. In what domains or situations are you lacking self-discipline? How does it manifest? What do the people who control their temptations in those situations do? How can you work over and over again on those specific things to improve yourself? If you're not good at exhibiting patience around people who annoy you, that's a specific aspect you can focus on to improve your self-control. If you often overeat on French fries, that's a specific trigger that you can focus on to improve your self-control around food. If you struggle to wake up early, figure out how to specifically boost your self-discipline in the morning when you're still half asleep. This laser focus approach will make you more effective at strengthening your willpower muscle, rather than merely trying to become more disciplined, as it's too difficult to define what that entails. Day 231, on minimizing what you need. A man is rich in proportion to the number of things which he can afford to let alone. Henry David Thoreau. Thoreau was a big proponent of simplicity, particularly when it comes to material possessions. We can extend his maxim to living a successful life in general, namely that a human is strong in proportion to the number of things which he or she can let alone. If you can still manage to achieve your goals despite not having the right resources, then ultimately you'll become a stronger and more capable person than an individual who has never gone without them. Kenyan javelin thrower Julius Yego won the gold medal at the World Championships in Beijing. There would be nothing particularly interesting in this story except that he learned how to perfect his technique without a coach, and instead learned from YouTube videos. Achieving such a feat without all of the resources that world-class javelin throwers usually have demonstrates how capable and determined Yego is as an athlete. Does it mean that you should deliberately reject the resources you have at your disposal? Not really. Look at it more as encouragement that, even if you don't have the best tools available, you can still make it big. In addition to that, practice your mental strength by sometimes deliberately going without something you need. For example, I sometimes climb with a blindfold on. Without being able to see the next handhold or foothold, the sense of touch heightens, and it serves as a valuable exercise in improving precision when climbing. You can apply it in many other areas of your life. Sleep on the bare floor for a few days to discover that you can still get a good night's rest once you get used to it. Exercise without any equipment whatsoever. Or try to learn a new skill by figuring it out by yourself instead of immediately looking for a coach or teacher.